Okay, today is all about money. Show me the money.
Mhm. Yeah.
Money has been a cause of katakata in many homes, so
Mm.
and even cause couples to separate because of issues, challenges they find with money, all because all these things were not discussed during
Mm.
courtship for the marriage. So we have a guest here who is going to tell us all about this money thing, what you should be
Mhm.
discussing. And you've met her
Mhm.
before in our module 11, where we talked about, she showed us the right questions to ask about your potential in-laws. So today,
Mm.
we still have my friend and sister-in-law,
Mhm.
Ejiro Otibe
Yes.
Ibuso. So
Yes.
she's going to be talking to us about module 14, money
Wow.
conversations you must have during courtship. Ejiro, you're
Mhm.
welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank
Mhm.
you. It's a pleasure to be back on a new model.
Yes.
Thanks.
So you
Mm-hmm.
can go ahead and tell us the money
Mm-hmm.
conversations we must have during courtship so that at least our financial boat is solidly anchored
Mm-hmm.
before we begin the journey.
Okay. Well, this is something that is very delicate amongst would-be couples. And if it's not discussed before marriage, can actually rock the boat. We've had many families, many marriages having serious conflicts because they just don't understand each other when it comes to handling of money. There are some quotes that I got in my little research about this topic. One of them says, don't fight about money because after you've said mean things to each other, the amount of money in the bank will remain the same. It's not going to increase.
Abby.
So you can handle it without being mean.
Mm.
Another one, which is an Egyptian proverb, says, if you marry a monkey for his money, the money, but the monkey remains
Yes.
as is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And nowadays, not just his money, it's also her money. So we've seen
yes.
trends across the world where men also now marry women for money.
Money.
I have another quote here by one Isaac um, that says, when it comes to marriage and money, there is no my money, his money, or her money in a successful marriage.
Mhm.
Regardless of who does or doesn't work or who brings the most money, the successfully married pool their money together, plan together, budget together, tithe together, give together, and spend together and save together. Now, this is the ideal. This is the ideal. I wish I can tell you that it works for everybody, but we know that it does not work for many people. And we've also seen marriages, good marriages that are working well, at least in our own eyes as we look at them, where they don't tithe together and they give separately and they even have separate accounts, yet they're living well together. So when it comes to, I used to have very radical views about money and marriage. Uh, Initially, I used to teach people, even in Sunday school, that the ideal is to have one account and we put all the money in the same account. But I've met people who said, look, the situation does not work for us because of our own kind of arrangements. I remember meeting one mama who said the husband has many wives, and if she puts her money with his own, and she's very hardworking, At the end of the day, man is going to end up using his money either for other things or for children, such that when her own children need stuff, those arrangements are simply different from what we can call the ideal. So I've seen people making adjustments, to arrive at what worked for them. So for me, I've come to see that you can't actually dictate. Even my ideas before I got married are slightly different now that I've been in marriage for like 29 years in November this year. Because now we are being real, and we are treating the issue in a way that everyone will end up happily married, and still live happily ever after, money or no money, So it's not all about the money, but how you can arrange it in such a way that everyone ends up happy. And when we have a discussion about money, the goal should be to resolve the money issues, to create harmony. That's the goal. And once we have that in mind, it's important to remove every distraction and not link the money issues with other things, because usually when we start discussing money, it also links up with other things, and before you know it, it can actually rock the boat. So there are certain scenarios, real life experiences of people. There are situations where the man is already rich and the girl is coming from a poor background, and probably she's also poor, she does not have her own money. And there might be this savior and deceived relationship. So if not for me, you will still be in that poverty. It happens. Also, there are situations where the woman is the one that is rich. I watch a lot of reality TV, like this 90-Day Fiancé on TLC, where you find a rich girl in America, a poor boy either somewhere in Africa or in another third world country, getting engaged online and coming to the US, and the girl is responsible for everything. It also kind of sparks of that savior. When I brought you from your country, to save you kind of relationship. Like we grew up hearing about the saying that he who pays the piper dictates the tune. And so sometimes that actually also goes into the marriage, where the person who is making the provision feels that they should have an upper hand in decision making. It shouldn't be like 50-50 rights, to decisions, since I'm the one paying and all of that. But all of these are things that lead to trouble somehow in relationships. Before we go into marriage, there are certain issues that we should ask ourselves. And actually, one of the issues which is even central to this discussion is, what is his or her money personality? What is his or her money personality? And according to the scholars, your money personality explains why you spend or save money the way you do in your day-to-day life. And knowing one's money personality can help us understand how to make money work for us, because actually at the end of the day, money is a tool. Money is a tool that we should deploy to get what we want, the ideal that we want. So when you know your money personality, you know how money works for you, how you save more money, or how you even make more money, and how you make smarter financial choices. Two people coming together may not have had even the knowledge of what money personality means. We just live our lives. Nobody teaches us some of these things. It's not part of the school curriculum. You find yourself having certain tendencies. So there's the big spender. There are people who want to spend, like, to make a statement with their purchases. So the place a high value on their possessions. They want the latest item in the market when it comes to that brand. They want the most expensive brand, the latest smartphone. So there are young people who don't even have plenty of income who are running after smartphones today. Before you finish iPhone 13, another one is in the market, and another one is in the market, in the next few months. And before you know it, there is this, lifelong struggle to keep up the pace. And if you are not like that, you're probably less empathetic towards your spouse, because you don't even understand it. Why is this person running after? I remember, and I have personally had this, how do I put it, this obsession with MacBook at some point. I just wanted a MacBook by all means. I don't know why. I didn't know the usefulness of MacBook above any other computer, but I just knew that I wanted a MacBook, and I bought a MacBook. At that time, I bought it for like 350,000, not of today. That was many years ago. And that was a lot of money for me, but I was very happy when I got it. And at that time, I didn't know anything about money personality. It was just my natural love for it. I wanted it. And when I had it, I had struggles over some time to even master how to use it. I don't think I even mastered it thoroughly before I bequeathed it to my son. Yeah. But it satisfied something. And I also had an iPhone, and those MacBook and iPhone, they don't share platforms. You can't borrow a charger from your child or from your husband who is not using a MacBook, or an iPhone. If your own charger is bad, it's not like the Android family that you can borrow charger from this person, and all of that. And it was when I started taking a certain course online, about all of these platforms. At the end of the day, I actually came to find that there was really nothing in it at the end. It's just what we call in Nigeria a fizzy, show off. Because what your MacBook can do, other laptops can do, the Android family can do, and they are less problematic, So it really was an eye-opener for me. But looking at money personality, I see there's the big spender. Their vehicle has to have a brand name, and it has to be the latest, and all of that. And then there's the saver. Savers are the exact opposite of big spenders. They don't want to spend money. Spending money makes them uncomfortable. They always shop for bargains. In fact, people tend to call them cheap. I have a favorite program on TV, still on TLC, a reality program called
Chipstick.
Extreme Cheapskates.
Yes.
And for the extreme cheapskates, they like to cut corners. They prefer to even get things free of charge, and all of that. Then there is the shopper. Shoppers often develop emotional ties to spending and receiving money. Their mood dips and increases with the amount of money in the bank. So when they don't have money, they are sick. They feel sick. And when they have a lot of money, they are just so happy. They're just so elated. Then there's the debtor. The debtor does not have any emotional ties to their finances. They don't spend to feel better or feel low. They don't feel low when they see a low bank balance. There is a particular contribution I'm supposed to be making as part of my way of, trying to make savings. And they sent me my statement. Early this morning, I saw it in my laptop, and I was very disappointed in myself because I missed a few months. From what I told myself I would save, I had not saved up to that, and I was very mad at myself. For the debtor, they don't care. Whether the bank figures are showing low or high, it doesn't matter. And that's why some people can owe you for ages. Even when they know you're angry that you need your money back, they don't care. I actually heard a mature man telling a group of young people that you don't have to pay every money that you owe. And that, what was he was saying? That even Nigeria government is owing. I want to talk of you. Can you imagine, an elder, and I was really disappointed. I'm like, oh, this is the attitude that some of the people owing you have, that they will never pay your money, because as far as they're concerned, so it's a tendency. And sometimes you think they're just being wicked. It's just the way they are wired.
Yeah.
They work on it. They really don't care. Then there's the investor. They want to invest all the time, and they can even sort of deprive themselves of some goodies to be able to make that investment. I'd say that if not for my husband and his investment mentality, I probably won't have any investment. Because he's the investor in our midst, and he's the type that would even take the children's savings and buy land for them. He's the type that will tell me, oh, is it because you're a woman that you don't even want to buy property? It's always good to invest in property. So I just thank God. Otherwise, somebody like me, seriously speaking, I probably not bother myself much about investments. But I have a husband that has this investment head and drive. And if he sees a piece of land at reasonable cost, he will still buy. In fact, recently he was telling me that all this land I've even bought in the village, what am I going to do with that? So you better think of what you're going to do with them. Because these children, many of them don't even have time for your land in the village. If it's land in Abuja, it's different, and all of that. But interestingly for us, I think as development goes to those places, land is never at a loss any day.
It appreciates.
It does not depreciate. So it's always a good choice to make investments in land. Now, before I go to some key questions again, so I mean, from what I've said so far about money personality, what I'm just trying to say is that it is important that during courtship, the two people involved discuss to understand their money personalities.
Yes.
It's very important. If this one is a shopper and goes into the shop and wants to buy everything and is only happy when that happens, then it calls for discussion. And if they are both like that, then there won't be enough money in the house any day, because everybody will be buying stuff. Sometimes the shoppers even buy stuff that they don't need. It's just that compulsion to shop, So these things need to be discussed. Now, the biblical view of money. There are several views, but basically, money is a good thing because you use it as a means of exchange for the things that we need in a home. Ecclesiastes 7:12 says, wisdom is a defense, as money is also a defense. 1 Timothy 6:10 says, the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money itself, but the love of money. When you begin to put money above every other thing, when the desire for money begin to covet money and all of that becomes strong, it is the root of all evil. And we can see that even in our country, Nigeria, and in many parts of the world, people can do all kinds of things just to make money. So, that is what the Bible is saying. And one other passage that appealed to me in looking at documents to build this discussion is Haggai 2:8, where the Bible says, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. And one of the things that the Holy Spirit ministered to me is it's important for us to reverence the owner. If the money belongs to God, you know that it's not yours. Yes. You are just a steward of the manifold blessings of God. And we saw what happened in Matthew 25, the story of the unprofitable servant, who did not invest his money and return the money back to the giver the way it was given. And I'm just imagining, assuming we push that story further, and there was a fourth person who, instead of even keeping the money, digging it underground to give back to the owner, squandered it. Assuming there was a fourth person in that story, how terrible would the master feel? You
Yes.
know, and that's how bad it is when we squander the manifold blessings of God. And it's not just money, it's also our talent, it's also our gift, whatever it is God has generously given to us to look after. If we don't deliver on it, then we know that it's not a good thing. Another lesson I've learned about money is the fact that no matter how heavily anointed you are as a Christian or a born-again Christian or a religious person, if you don't know how to manage money, and if you don't, how do I put it, put an interest in learning how to manage money, you'll be broke. Anointing does not put money in your pocket unless you want to fake it and before one night and be collecting money from people. And that one is no longer anointing.
I
You
like
understand? But the
anointing
story
does
of
not put money in your pocket.
it does not. In 2 Kings chapter 4, we are told the story of the Shunammite woman whose husband was amongst the sons, one of the sons of the prophets. And he died and he left the family in debt. And the woman had to cry to Prophet Elisha to say, your servant, my husband is dead, and you know that your servant feared the Lord. Yet he was in debt, and the creditor had come to pick her two sons to become slaves. So you can imagine what an embarrassment.
Yeah.
You carry anointing, you teach people everything, yet you cannot plan your life, and throw some money into the future to cushion anything. So it's important that we know each other's money personalities, and then have a conversation or a series of conversations. Let our going out not just be to go and eat meat pie and eat one thing and eat chicken and all of that.
Yep.
Those serious conversations have to be had, particularly for a marriage a relationship that is going somewhere. You're already cutting and you're planning for marriage. We must plan finances. We must, in fact, even the amount of money to be spent on the wedding itself should be planned. When people come to my husband and me, when they come for counseling, we tell them, get a notebook and start writing, all that you need. Start making a budget for the marriage. You don't just go on a shopping spree just because some money landed in your pocket and you just squander it and you want to impress the entire world. And then after the wedding, what about the marriage itself when you start living together? Some people spend the first 1 year paying debt just because they wanted to impress other people. So it doesn't make any sense. And those personalities, those money personalities will come out even as we're planning the wedding. That's why you will see a girl who has never seen a limousine in her life, but she wants to ride in a limousine on the wedding day.
Yeah.
And in our own part of the world, the man is the one saddled with the responsibility to provide the limousine, and he doesn't have the means to do it. That can even cause conflict already. You want to feed the entire country, you're not thinking that when you get back home, you need the remaining money. So those personalities will show forth as we plan the wedding, and we need to call each other to order, early enough so that when we go into the marriage, we are going in with at least some understanding. So we need to ask questions about, what does my partner do for money? What is your source of income? Because I personally maintain that every adult should have a source of income. Doesn't matter whether you're educated or not. I grew up seeing my uneducated grandmother take care of everybody, even send me to school because my parents were both in school. She was selling stuff. So it's not about whether you're educated or whether jobs are available or not. Any reasonable human being should be able to articulate a source of income. If you don't like to go to an office to work, you should build a cottage business at home, whatever it is. But these discussions have to happen. Unless, of course, one person feels they are so rich that they want to take care of everything. And it's always a source of problem. For how long are you going to take care of everything for an adult?
Exactly.
So speaking seriously, everybody should find a way to generate some income, or at least to support the process of reducing spending in the home. It's so for example, if you needed to like pay someone to take the children to school, and you are the party that is not working, you should be able to volunteer your time to remove that cost of paying a taxi or paying for school bus or whatever, and take the children to school. But for me, I really like a situation where both parties at least have a source of income. It doesn't matter how much. It could be little. It will not be the same amount of money everybody is able to attract, but at least we should be contributing partners. I mean, that's my personal view, and I'm not by any means really making a prescription. Okay, so, and if the person is not working at that time, what is their plan? Because I can't remember who told me this. When I was much younger, I always had that idea about not marrying money, but marrying potentials.
Yeah.
So what are the potentials of this person? What are the skills this person brings to the table? How can we work around those skills to ensure that eventually it generates income for the family? That is one way of looking at it. And when we ask those questions about money, we must be specific. So for example, stuff like, are you a big spender? What is your attitude to big spending? There are some things you will even just pick up the vibes already as you are dating.
Yes.
So if you are dating and let's say the lady prefers to go to a high ranking hotel. So let's say in Abuja where we are, we want to like go out for a meal. And my preference is Transcorp Hilton. And you know how expensive that is. For maybe at this stage in my life, if I want to give myself a treat, or my husband and I want to give ourselves a treat, we could choose Transcorp Hilton because we can afford it and it's not going to affect anything.
Yes.
But a young person who is just coming up, you want to have all your meals in Transcorp Hilton, where there are when there are alternative places that are equally nice, but you pay less. Those vibes will always come up. When you are dating a person, you will know whether this person is a shopper, whether this person is a big spender. You need to also ask stuff about debt. Is this person in debt? Because the moment you get married, your partner's money issues becomes your issues.
Exactly.
Yes, this is heavily indebted. You can't run away from it. You're also in debt. And those things can begin to cause problems in the home, eventually. So those things are good. In fact, for some men and some women, they make the final decision to either marry this person or not, depending on their money personality.
Yeah.
So I had a situation where when my husband was toasting me, as we say it here in Nigeria. He came around one day where I was doing my youth service, and I was on my way to the shop to buy coffee. I never forget. And he came and said, "Okay, let me give you a ride." We were not dating. I mean, we were not cutting, but he was just coming around at that time, and he took me to the shop. And I picked my coffee. And after I picked my coffee, he said, "Look around and pick every other thing that you need." And I looked at him, I gave him the look, and I was like, "I beg your pardon, I told you I was coming to buy coffee.
Yes.
Why are you asking me to pick every other thing that I need?" I said, "I'm not interested. It's coffee I came to buy and I bought it." And we left. And when I got back home, I told one of my copper friends what happened. She started hitting me all over. "Bush girl."
Yeah.
"Bush girl." Now bush, you go die put.
Yes.
Man, so make you pick everything where you want. You say you know the pick. What kind of person are you? Blah, blah, blah. I say, you know what? It makes me feel cheap.
Exactly.
Why was he asking me? That's the way we were raised, though.
Exactly.
Even when you are hungry and you go to a person's house, they offer you food, you go say thank you. That's the way we, you know. It was more than 10 years after, when we were already married, more than 10 years after the marriage, that he was sharing in a meeting once, and he said that attitude was part of the reason why he said he will never leave this girl. Whether she said no or not, I'm going to chase her until I marry her.
Yeah.
Because it was a rare attitude, according to him, But I thought that should have been the normal thing. But today we see how, in fact, ordinary recharge card is what they use now to get girls.
Exactly.
And the girls, yes, and the girls actually even go out of their way to ask. I don't know where they get the grace, or disgrace, or ungrace, whatever it is that I will call it now. To be harassing somebody, send me text message, send me recharge card, this one, and all of that. But unfortunately, when you do that, you present yourself as cheap. It's as if you are in this relationship for the money, and for many girls nowadays, and maybe even men now, they don't care. So you will need to ask ourselves the question about, is this lady or is this man in this relationship for the money? There are men that have already decided, in this Abuja, there are many, decided they won't work. Let the woman go and work and bring money. So they look for women who have big pay. They go for bankers, they go for people working in oil company, and all of that, so that the woman can be the one working and he can sit at home, go to gym, build muscles, and just look beautiful, look handsome. There are men like that today. And it's really unfortunate, So we need to ask those questions. Is this person in need for the money? Or is it that I'm from, let's say, a well-to-do home? There are some well-to-do homes that is actually deceptive, because they are living on past reputation, right?
Yes.
We've had a situation where a certain person pursued a certain person, for so long, thinking that the name that was ringing had money attached to it, only to find out later that there was no money anymore. Money was gone. It was just the name that was still making the waves. God forbid bad thing. If Dangote gets broke tomorrow, his name will still be reigning as a rich man. Is that not so? Yes. And so when you hear somebody is related to Dangote, you think that, if I marry this person, Dangote will sponsor my life.
Yeah.
It's often not like that, So, but we need to find out early. Is this person in need for the money? Another thing is he or she transparent about money? Some people are not transparent about money. You can never know what they earn. And I think it's important for both partners to know what each person earns. It's important. That way, it will even cut out the necessity for foolish demands. We need to be very realistic, transparent, and then accountable. Even in a supposed love relationship, there are people who are still not accountable, people who want to swindle their partners. Even as they are dating, it comes and gives you a long list of stuff or tells lies about family, and just to get your sympathy so that you spend money. I think that we need to guard against all of that as a mark of self-respect. And also, if you find a partner who is already like that, I wonder whether that person is going to make a good spouse at the end of the day. The one that is not accountable, not transparent, and all of that. And then we need to also discuss willingness to contribute. How do you want to run the expenses? Of course, both of the marriage and when we are married. Of the marriage ceremony, I know that basically in Nigeria, many families make it as if it's the man's responsibility to do everything. But there are also situations where the woman makes substantial contribution because she can afford it. I don't think we should be ashamed to do that. There are families that also tend to take on. So, for example, in my family, the few ladies that we have given out, we always ensure that we buy their clothes, and in some families, it's the man that will buy everything. And I think it's really unfair, because these are two young people trying to come together. If we can support in any way, it's always good. Yes. But one thing that I will not forget to reiterate is the fact that a budget is needed. And we need to have like a ceiling to say this is how much we want to spend. It could be plus or minus, but we can't spend all our life savings just impressing people in a marriage. You know, in fact, I've counseled people who ended up using borrowed, hired wedding dresses because they couldn't afford to buy a wedding dress. But later in life, of course, when you have made it, when you have excess money, if you want to do a marriage renewal, you can shake the town because you can afford it.
Yes.
But for young people who are coming together in our church, particularly, we promote moderation, you know, unless, of course, they are very rich and they really want to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then commitment to financial planning. Even when you are married, everything has to be planned. How much are we going to run the home? Realistically speaking, and when the children start coming, what kind of schools, you know, are we planning to put the children in? It's not when the children have come that we'll now realize that a time is coming for us to pay fees. We need to start putting something aside. And you know, the interesting thing is that money grows. If you start putting a little aside early enough, before you know it, you won't believe how much, you know. But if there are people who believe in spending everything they have, everything that comes in must go. The day the salary is paid, we eat 5 eggs at breakfast. You know, yes, now there are people who do that, eat full chicken, squander it, and then the rest of the month we are looking for small bonga fish or ice fish to manage. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So we can spread and ensure that we don't spend above what we have allotted or allocated for a particular thing. Once in a while, budgets are flexible. Once in a while, it can go beyond or go under, but at least you have a target, you know, that they are working with every month for that. And then for money to work between two partners, we must avoid selfishness. Some people are basically selfish, and that is not good in any way. And then on the issue of joint savings, this is something we need to discuss. Between the spouses, they must discover whether they want to have a joint savings account, joint investments. Now, when you have joint investments, it should be very clear that the investments are actually joint. In other words, your names should be on the documents together.
Yes.
Yeah, because there are homes where husband and wife have been contributing to build a home or to buy a home. The house is in the husband's name alone. And then God forbid something happens and the woman is left hanging. The family comes and claims their brother's stuff and all of that. In fact, some people make a radical change. Like I have a friend who tells me that every car that the husband has bought is in her name.
Yes.
And the husband was doing it to protect her. In case anything happens, nobody can come and claim those property, you know. But I'm not saying that is a prescription, but this is what somebody has done that I know about, you know.
Yes,
so
and I will want to add there to that. Yes, people are beginning to do that, because I know even for my husband, when we were in Abuja for our home in Abuja, he eventually got it to be in my name too, just for that same reason.
Exactly, that is it. By the end of the day, one brother from nowhere who did not know where people started from, we just come and say, "This is my brother's house," or the sister, "This is my brother's house," you know, and all of that. So if joint accounts will work for you, depending on your money personalities, that is account that you spend from. It does not work for everybody because of different spending patterns. There are some people who have different spending patterns, and for me personally, so in my home, we have some joint accounts, like maybe for projects, you know, or something, but I also have a personal account. That's because of my own money personality. The fact that I give out a lot of money. Sometimes people come to me, they want help. And if I'm moved, if I'm led to give, I just give. I personally don't really want permission to do that.
Yes.
And that is me. And I'm not recommending it for any other person. You know, so it's an agreement that we have. But I always notify my spouse that this is either what I am going to do or if it's something I gave instantly, I tell him that this is what I did. I gave
Yes.
so and so person, because interestingly, I've seen people who play you against each other too.
Yes.
They collect from you and they collect
I
from him.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, human beings are just wonderful. May God help us.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And then we also do some, and my husband also gives out a lot of money, to various people, but he also tells me. Sometimes we do joint giving.
Yes.
So there's a project and somebody needs help and we agree to give, let's say 500,000. And then it happened recently and I asked him, okay, how will we do the percentage? Of course, he has more money than me. So, so he told me, okay, I can bring 200 and he will bring 300. That is joint giving,
Yes.
It happens, right? And then, of course, one of the things to discuss before we go into marriage is the need to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we are making now, what can we do again? Looking at our untapped skills, our untapped talent. Because many of us, we have untapped skills, untapped talents, with which people are surviving. People are making money. In fact, at times, I look at people who are struggling and are making money, and I tell myself that, look, I have what it takes to make more money from what I already have, from the talents, from the gifts, even from the money that I already have access to. I have the potential to make more money. We're just not exploring enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to explore together because we're going to be needing more money as we grow a family,
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, based on people's personalities too, there are people in Abuja who are paying 50 million annually on rent in a posh area, fully furnished and serviced apartment. 50 million. 50 million will build you a beautiful house.
Exactly.
Yes, you see that. So why spend 50 million every year just because you want to stay in Maitama?
Yes.
And it's not your father's house. So those are things that we need to discuss and be realistic. There are women who want to wear the latest gold in the market as if it's competition with anybody. And there are men who want to ride the most expensive car, as if they're in competition with anybody. Those are things that we need to discuss and be realistic. At the end of the day, money should not be the thing that drives us apart. It should actually be something, a tool with which we enjoy our home and be more comfortable, when we are married than we were when we were not married. And the times that we live in, I was talking about it in church today, the times that we live in, it calls for a little frugality. It can't be business as usual. Everything is skyrocketing. And if we are still spending the way we used to spend and we're still having everything in excess the way we used to have it, and salaries are not increasing, we're heading for poverty.
Yes.
So we must always think and plan and, how do I put it, and ensure that our coming together does not wreck us. At the end of the day, we become poor. We should be richer than we were before we met. That should be the goal. And we must find a way to make that happen. Thank you very much. I think that's all I have on this topic today. Okay. Unless you have questions for me.
No, you have really delved into a lot of areas and covered so much that people need to discuss and be open with, because honestly, the most important thing from the beginning is that honesty, that transparency, to place your cards on the table, because you're not entering into marriage for the sake of marriage. You want to enjoy yourself. You want to have a better life with the person you're going with. So it's not that you're planning trouble or anything. So you have to do things that will make that happen, that will make you have a successful marriage and not have issues at the end of the day. That is just it. And honestly, if we follow all these things you have said, it will be of much help to us. Yes, and then for us to adopt something which, as you said, we are all different. So you have to plan and adapt to something that is suitable for you, that will work for you. That is the essence of this whole thing. So we can't say, oh, have a joint account. Oh, don't have a joint account. Oh, do this or do that. No. Based on your personalities, you can arrive at something. that
That
you
one.
want to do. So we are
Yeah.
so very, very grateful
Thank
to
you.
have you here. And already from, as I said, from module 11, you already have her contact information if you want
Yeah,
to
sure.
meet her and ask any more questions. And then our workbook is there for you to discuss. Some of the questions she raised, some of them are there in the workbook. So as you discuss them, please be open and be transparent so that you can arrive at something that will work well for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a
Yes.
nice evening. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.